everyone, and welcome back to my doll collecting channel. I have a video idea that I literally came up with like 30 seconds ago, and it is dolls that I recommend for serious collectors of American Girl. So these are dolls that I recommend as an adult collector. These are not necessarily recommendations for kids who are actually going to play with the dolls, but if you're somebody who's seriously interested in collecting dolls and you're just starting out, or you want a doll that's really unique in your collection, these are the dolls that I personally recommend from my collection that I think are really unique and special in their own unique ways, and definitely will make your collection unique. And without further ado, let's just get started. So the first doll I recommend is Nenea. And the reason I recommend Nenea is because she has the Nenea face mold, which is fairly unique, and up until recently she was the only doll with this face mold. And there's a lot of dolls that have similar face molds, like the Corinne face molds and dolls like that. But this doll I feel like is really unique, especially with her eye color. Her hair is beautiful. It's long and it's wavy. I also really like her hair because it has some brown, some reddish brown, and some black in her hair. So it really gives this nice kind of like dimension to her hair. So I highly recommend Nenea because I feel like she's really unique, especially compared to my other dolls. When she's on a shelf, she definitely pops and stands out. So I highly recommend getting a Nenea. However, I have seen some other dolls with the Nenea face mold, which are really cute. So I would just recommend, personally, Nenea, but any Nenea mold I think would be really cute in your collection. The next doll that I recommend is Kaya. Now, I recommend Kaya on my channel all the time. I think she is one of the most beautiful dolls from American Girl. She is so unique. I love her face mold, and I love her skin tone and her eyes and her hair. She is just so stunning, and from my personal experience, sometimes dolls in the stock photos from American Girl don't look that good. And I feel like Kaya, she doesn't look bad in her stock photos, but it really doesn't capture how beautiful she is in person. And I don't even think cameras and Instagram photos and even this YouTube video doesn't capture how beautiful she is in person. I highly, highly, highly recommend getting her in your collection. Even if you dress her in modern outfits or in different outfits, she's just a beautiful, gorgeous doll. Very unique, especially with her face mold. So I highly recommend getting a Kaya. I didn't realize how beautiful she was until I actually got her, and I'm so glad I did. And I got her when I did because she's just absolutely stunning. And she definitely stands out amongst my other dolls. So if you want a really unique looking doll, I highly recommend Kaya. I cannot recommend Kaya enough. The next doll that I highly, highly recommend is Elizabeth. And the reason I recommend Elizabeth is because she's absolutely stunning in person. Something about her blue eyes and this shade of blue, and her Josefina mold, and her hair color and these little curls make her absolutely stunning. I know some people shy away from her because they think that she is basic. However, if you have her in person, you definitely would not think that at all. She is just absolutely so stunning. One of the most beautiful dolls in my collection. When I first got her, I was absolutely blown away by how beautiful she was. She was my first Josefina mold, and I highly, highly, highly recommend Elizabeth because it's on the surface level, people think that she's boring, and I have heard people say this, but like, she pops. Like, in a collection, when you have her on a shelf, she just stands out. Even if you put her against like Kirsten and Kit and other blonde dolls, there's just something about her that is so special that makes her just pop when she's on a shelf, and you really notice her in person. And that's what I hope you take away from this video, is that some of these dolls, they look so different online or in photos or in catalogs, but once you get them in person, they just feel completely different. And that's absolutely how I feel about Elizabeth. If you want a doll that's just absolutely stunning and gorgeous, and the closest thing I can describe her as is like a princess, I would highly, highly, highly recommend Elizabeth. If you want a really, really girly doll in your collection, Elizabeth is it. Next we have Marie Grace, and Marie Grace is one of my favorite dolls in my collection. If you've been following my channel for a while, she is my favorite historical of all time. And I really like her stories and her personality, but I love her as a doll as well. She is the first doll with the Marie Grace face mold and was the only doll with the Marie Grace face mold until like up until a year ago. And I feel like this doll is so stunning. I feel like this might seem totally random, and this might be just age of my doll, but I feel like if I got a Marie Grace face mold and I was going to customize her, one of these older ones, I would put freckles on her face, because as you can see, there's kind of like this dip under her eyes, and she almost looks like she's tired or something, but it would be so cute to add little freckles to her face. So if you're a customizer, and you have a really rough shape Marie Grace, maybe try something like that out, because I think that would just look so cute on her face. And no wonder people customize her all the time. But she has these beautiful, unique eyes that are like almost like a turquoise color, and I don't know if any other doll in my collection has that color of blue. Like Elizabeth's is like a bright blue, and there's like a standard bright blue from American Girl, but this one is almost like, in comparison, like a mint green. I feel like she's really unique with her eye color. She also has this beautiful brown hair, and I like how some of it's curly, some of it is straight, and I kept mine with the factory braids in it, and I've never taken them out, and I never will. And she's just absolutely stunning. Highly recommend her. And again, another really girly doll if you want to have a girly doll in your collection. And I just can't recommend her enough. So this next doll is probably not a surprise to most of you, but I highly recommend Cecil. And Cecil and Marie Grace are my favorite best friend duo for a reason, for many, many reasons. One main reason was I remember their release, but also I feel like these dolls are just so unique together, but then also on their own. And I love Cecil because she has this beautiful Sonali face mold and this green eyes, and her hair is similar to Nenea's, where it has some brown, some little bit of red and black in it, so it's not just like jet black hair, which makes her really, really unique. And I feel like her skin tone is really, really nice and beautiful. And Cecil, I feel like, looks good in everything. That's one downside I would have to say to Marie Grace. Because of Marie Grace's unique hair, it can be difficult to dress her in modern clothing. However, Cecil looks great in any time period, and she looks great in Victorian clothes, or she looks great in modern clothes. So Cecil is more versatile than Marie Grace, I would say. So if you could only pick one doll out of the two, and you're not particularly fond of one more than the other, I would maybe recommend Cecil more. Personally, I like Marie Grace more for many reasons that I've talked about on this channel. And there's a certain reason that Marie Grace is slightly more special to me, because she was a childhood doll. But that's, I think, a topic for a different video. But Cecil, if I had to step away from my own personal feelings and be a little bit subjective, I would recommend Cecil more to a collector than I would Marie Grace. However, I do recommend them both. So this is an interesting perspective that I think a lot of people are going to be shocked by why I chose this doll, and this is Samantha. And the reason I recommend Samantha is because, number one, she's an iconic doll. She was the logo for Pleasant Company for many years. She's one of the original 3 dolls, and she's definitely a fan favorite. However, because Samantha has been around for so long, and she was retired for a period of time, I recommend her because there's so many different variations of Samantha. And if you really like dolls and maybe they're the same character, but you like slight variants and differences, then I would highly recommend Samantha, because in my personal opinion, there's so many different varieties of Samantha. You can get Samantha with really dark hair, or with lighter brown hair, or different eyes, different eyelashes, different face paint shades, and different She's always the classic mold, but depending on the age of the doll, the classic mold looks different. And I find on my channel, people can look at my Samantha and know that it is my Samantha. And if you even compared her with other Samanthas, people who really like Samantha would be able to see that this one is mine based on the different variants that she is. So as you can see, she has white under her eyes. She has soft eyelashes. She has darker brown hair. And as a kid, I somehow determined that she was from 1993. And I have brought that up in my videos before, and a few collectors have said that I was correct in that. And I don't know how I discovered that when I was a kid, but you can almost find out the year that a certain Samantha was released based on slight variations like that. If you're really into that super detailed stuff, you can easily get sucked into a rabbit hole of Samanthas, and no two Samanthas are the same in my opinion. So you can definitely get multiple Samanthas and they'll all be different from each other. And that's why I recommend Samantha. Okay, so I think this angle is so funny because it perfectly describes how I view this doll, which is my Marita doll from the World by Us collection from American Girl. And my Marita in my collection is like an Instagram influencer and she's like a style icon. So I think it's funny that she's doing this dramatic thing with her hair. So I think that that's just funny, but I'm gonna move her now so you can get a better look at her. So this is my Marita, and I highly recommend Marita, and I think she's now retired off the American Girl website, so you have to buy her on eBay and places like that, which is unfortunate, but a lot of these dolls that I have mentioned, you have to find them on eBay now. But I love Marita because she is very versatile. I feel like she's very glamorous when I look at her, but she does really like soccer, so I could totally see her being more athletic and sporty and looking so cute in those kind of outfits. I also see her looking very good in glam outfits. She just feels extremely versatile to me. However you want to style her, if you want her to be super girly, or even if you wanted her to be a little bit more edgy, I feel like she would look good in any style and any aesthetic. So that's why I recommend Marita if you are a serious collector, because I just feel like there's so much you could do with her, and I feel like she's stunning, and maybe she's gonna be like a Sonali, or I'm trying to think of another example, like a doll that's just highly sought after in the future. I see that with all the World by Us, but for some reason I feel like Marita is so special and I can't really articulate why, and she really just pops when she's on the shelf, and I just can't recommend her enough. Next we have Yvette, and I highly recommend Yvette because she is super stunning, super unique, one of my favorite dolls in my collection, and I think one of the reasons I like her is because she's very versatile. You can definitely dress her maybe in a more girly style, or I like to dress her in more like a vintage style. The best way I can describe her is I like dressing her in clothes that are associated with the fall, like, you know, browns and oranges and yellows and greens and things like that, things that I associate with fall and autumn. And she just looks so great in that. But if you wanted to dress her in something else, I've seen people dress her up as a historical doll, and I think she's absolutely stunning when people do it that way. So I just love her. She is so stunning, very unique, and I think she's going to be another one of those sought after dolls in many years in the future. So if you can get her, I would highly recommend getting her because she just feels so unique in my collection, and she really does pop off the shelf, and she does look really unique when you post photos for her. She's very photogenic. She's really easy to take photos of, and don't get scared off by her hair. A lot of people are afraid to take care of her hair, but it's really not that hard to take care of. Just spray it with some water and you'll be good. It's one of the easiest hairs to take care of, in my opinion, from American Girl. Just don't brush it, which is my advice for any American Girl with curly hair. But then again, I have curly hair myself, so I have some skills in how to take care of curly hair that maybe the average person doesn't have. So I debated whether or not to include this doll in this video because she is not an American Girl doll. She is a Maplelea doll from the Canadian brand of 18-inch dolls. But ultimately I decided this is a recommendations video, and these are dolls that I personally think are really unique in my collection that I would recommend for other people. And Syla from Maplelea is definitely one of those dolls. Syla is a very, very popular doll, and people that don't even collect Maplelea sometimes get her because she's just so unique and special in that line of dolls. And one of the reasons is because she's an Inuit doll, so she is an Indigenous Canadian who lives in the Arctic, and she's very unique for that reason, but she has a very unique face mold. She has beautiful black hair. She's absolutely stunning and is very, very unique. And I think because of her backstory and her appearance, she is just so unique and stunning, and people love having her in their collection. And I love having her in my collection because she does really pop and stand out amongst American Girl dolls, but also against my other Maplelea dolls. Even if you aren't the biggest fan of other dolls that are not American Girl doll, or maybe if you are, this is like a good doll to like test it out and see if you like other brands, because I think you will like her, and you will enjoy her because she's just so stunning. She looks good in anything. She's another doll that looks stunning in many different styles, and I think she's just absolutely gorgeous, and I highly can't recommend her enough. So that has been my video for dolls that I recommend as a doll collector. If you like this video and if you want to see more doll collecting videos, make sure to hit subscribe. Also make sure to follow my Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.